Good evening, folks. This is Deb and Dave, and this is your Factivist Report for Sunday, the 28th of January. And tonight's topic is we need to win the Senate. We need to expand the Senate. We're going to be talking about the election an awful lot over the next several months, and you're just going to have to get used to it. So without further ado, here's Dave.
Okay, so why, Dave? Why, Deb? Why are we talking about it? Well, let me tell you. All right.
Oh, we got a choice here. We can either pretend none of this shit's happening, or we can do something about it. Personally,
Well, Deb, all we have to do, is reform the Supreme Court. You
yeah,
didn't know?
yeah, I
We
do.
don't need to do all this. All
Yeah.
we need to do is reform the Supreme Court.
The only problem with that theory is this, and it has nothing to do with the number of people we need to do that. The Supreme Court
Yeah.
doesn't write legislation. We still have a hell of a problem in the House and Senate. Okay, end of story.
Not only do we need 60 senators to try to speed up reform of the Supreme Court because of the ramming through of justices, and by the way, of not even putting in a vote for our guy in the beginning, and then ramming through, and then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, ramming Amy Coney Barrett through. So
In the meantime, they stalled Merrick Garland. They stalled Barack Obama for 10 months on the Merrick Garland nomination. 10 months. They said, well, he's not going to be president. It should be the new president. 10 months they blocked Merrick Garland. 10 months. Okay.
no. So now we have this. Now we have a 6-3 majority, and we have
Conservative majority.
a conservative majority, which is a nightmare in itself. We have the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the dismantling of affirmative action. We have the Chevron deference, which is the ripping apart of federal agencies to protect us from pollution, among other things. We have a lot of things going on. We have gun cases that have been, the overturning of Oberfell Oberfell will be challenged soon. So yes, that is a concern, and we do want to push to get as many senators as possible to balance the court from the imbalance that the Trump administration caused. Okay.
By the way, they also need a code of ethics, and it needs to be enforceable. None of the self-policing stuff.
Right.
They're talking about this code of ethics that they're putting in place. There's no way to make that or enforce that. That's John Roberts playing fast and loose with, oh, let me shut everybody down and make them quiet for a while.
You have to make ironclad recusal laws. If you are involved in so and so, you cannot sit on this case. Period. End of story.
So they are going to be ruling on a couple of Trump's cases. The immunity is one.
Right.
And is Clarence Thomas going to recuse himself? Because
no, he's not.
He sure than shit should, considering his wife is a traitor. Okay.
So not only are we looking at potential reform of the Supreme Court, and by the way, that's the shooting for the moon goal.
Right.
The goal, just to get like a 4 to 5 senator majority, is in order to legislate effectively, instead of worrying about who's going to jail or who's doing this or who's doing that or who, campaign shenanigans, whatever, or who's threatening who or whatever. You know, real legislation. I'm going to go through some of this. Um, why the Republican Party isn't concerned with popularity. The bottom line is they don't care
They're not popular.
because they were somehow able to get Trump in.
Yeah, I
They
can
were
see how it happened. Low
yeah,
voter turnout.
yep,
Let me just say it. Say it. Let's not sugarcoat it. Nobody was excited in 2016. Everybody
right,
was saying we all had Trump derangement syndrome. He wasn't that bad.
right.
Yeah. Well, you found out differently, didn't you?
So, they're mentioning gerrymandering. They also mentioned, the climate back in 2016. Number one, stop blaming gerrymandering. Just get out there and vote.
Right. Because you know what? Look at the Pew Research has already shown this. You voted 50, the Democrats voted 55% of capacity, the Republicans can win. They voted 60% of capacity, they can win in a landslide, the Democrats. If you voted 70% capacity, we can put the GOP out of business. We all know what we have to do here. The question is, are you going to have the political will or are you going to sleepwalk into a fucking authoritarian government? Because that's where we're headed.
Here's another thing, and it's a decent point. Even then, it's not clear whether a course correction would be the end result for the GOP losing. If the GOP is able to keep convincing itself that election losses are due to fraud and electoral malfeasance, instead of looking internally and saying we have a problem with our platform,
They're not going to do that.
much less what we're doing. They're never going to do that. But
By the way,
there's no reason to expect the party's agenda will change anytime soon. It's not.
it's not already. But Donald Trump is already riling people up about his potential loss. He's already
Right.
preparing people that if I lose, it's because it's rigged. A, he
Right.
knows he's on the bubble. And B, he's trying to rile everybody up all over again.
Now, Palletpedia, I'm just putting this in here to, check to see, where your state is, if a senator, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to mention a few people. One thing I want to emphasize this. Don't pay attention to the polls. I just use this to show you who's running. Okay. You are the one that determines who wins these things, not the polls. Jennifer Rubin, who I put in here a couple of times. The media's worst lapse to identify Trump as a cult leader. And
And
you'll
that's
see
really
it.
all he is.
You will see it with these GOP, some of these GOP Senate candidates, especially Senate candidate number one, who Deb just, can't get enough of sarcasm because we're starting with Arizona.
Oh, Jesus.
His, it's his Ruben Gallego. This guy, this is just I would go into his press releases. So Gallego highlights jobs at a roundtable, investment wins for Arizona and annual defense bill. Gallego meets with bipartisan group of Maricopa County mayors. At roundtable, Gallego works fighting to lower costs for Arizonans. Um, makes a statement on fallen Navy SEALs. Announces a $95 million federal grant for a highway extension. Catches up with the Arizona mayors in DC. This is what we call governing
Right.
and legislating. Okay.
Ruben
And
Gallego is the man who has to win. Okay.
yeah.
Has got to win. He
It,
is popular.
if
He's in the House
yeah,
right now. He's in the House at this moment. He's popular in Arizona. He hits all the right notes as a Democrat.
If you wanna flip on one of these, that's fine. But I mean, this is Arizona families, economy, education, environmental and climate change, gun safety, healthcare, immigration. Immigration will be, you know, very important in that state. Inflation, LGBTQ plus, national security, protecting Arizona's water. Again, it's like desert, so yeah, it's very important. Protecting the right to choose, tribal communities, veterans, voting rights, and democracy. Okay, as opposed to Kerry Lake.
Scary Carrie.
Here's all you need to know. If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me. That's all I'm going to read from her.
All you need to know. That's all you have to know.
Okay.
You're still whining about losing the governorship. She's, she's an election denier.
By the way, she's going to sue everyone that booed her at a rally. I swear to God, it's
yeah,
about her.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. She goes to a rally and she gets booed, and instead of trying to win them back, she's going to sue them. Really,
Yeah.
being an asshole is in the GOP's DNA.
So
Sorry.
next we have John Tester. Okay. So, and again, accountability, transparency, uh, agriculture. He's a dirt farmer, by the way. So, as the U.S. Senate's only working farmer, John knows what that agriculture is the backbone of Montana's economy. Campaign finance, election security, civil liberties.
This is a critically important race.
Yeah.
We need him in Montana.
Now, there are two people running against him. One of them, who's supposedly the front runner, lost to him in 2018. Okay, so to say that John Tester is behind the eight ball, or it's a seat that in peril or whatever, I don't know about that.
No, we can the voters can change that. Get out and
Right.
vote. Do you really want a Republican?
So we have Matt Rosendale. Let's see here. Beat him once.
By the way,
You know,
Mr. Rosendale voted to overturn the 2020 election.
yes, he did. He's a Trumper through and through.
And by the way, he also joined with overthrowing Kevin McCarthy. So people need to understand where these people are.
And then we have Mr. Daines, who is attacking. These guys are in a primary and attacking each other right now.
Good.
Yeah. So before I get too crazy into, because Rosendale, he already has some I believe some campaign finance charges against him and all that. So,
By the way,
but
keep in mind that you're going from a guy like John Tester. You'll be going for a guy like John Tester, who's a farmer and understands what's needed in that state, to a guy who goes on Steve Bannon's War Room
right.
interviews. I don't know what more you need.
Let's see here.
And by the way, I know there are a lot of traditional Republicans in Montana. I don't know what more you need, but I can tell you right now, you're not going to get anything out of a MAGA guy.
Right. January 26, 2022, Rosendale asked court to dismiss campaign finance lawsuit. Rosendale raged, and he is in the Montana State House, by the way. This is what Rosendale rages against a non-problem in viral speech. There he is. Kind of looks like Sam the Eagle, but whatever. He suggested that on fly-in days, House leaders were passing hundreds of millions of dollars in spending through a political move known as unanimous consent. So, but this guy, all you really need to know, again, anti-LGBT, anti right to choose. We talked about Sherrod Brown before. He is a labor guy. He has worked hard to do certain different things. Um, he was this. We're going to talk about the child tax credit. He fought for that, which, by the way, was stomped out by Joe Manchin.
On
Um,
national level.
yep, fights for housing. He helped. He helped with the train crash last year. So this is Bernie Moreno, and we talked about him before, facing discrimination lawsuits. He's the guy running against. Yeah,
Are there any Republicans that are running that don't have something filed against them legally?
I don't know. So there you go. This is Sherrod Brown again. Railway accountability. This is again. These are things that you do when you govern.
That's right.
Okay, so let's go to West Virginia. Okay, and we talked about this in a sad state of the GOP. Zach Shrewsbury is an ex-Marine. He is running for the West Virginia Senate seat as a Democrat.
He is a
Okay,
Democrat, real Democrat.
as a real Democrat,
Oh,
as opposed to Don Blankenship.
he's running for Joe Manchin's seat.
Yes, this man, you listen to him, and I believe him. I believe that he is genuine. He's saying, "Listen, I'm working for the working family." He he states it head on about how West Virginia has a serious problem with drug addiction in their state, but that you have to deal with this head on, and you have to use compassion, and you have to look also at the problems facing the people that are also facing addiction. These people, some of them, they have to choose between putting gas in their car and feeding their kids, or heating oil or feeding their kids. I mean, or, going to work. So there is a story here where they talk about the opioid and the painkiller crisis in West Virginia. These guys, this is the mining state, and it's hard, physical, painful work. So some of these guys are going to are going to take painkillers and get addicted. Now, Joe Manchin, instead of helping these people, said he's concerned, and he doesn't want to give the child tax credit because all these guys are going to do, they're going to spend it on drugs. They're going to spend it on booze and drugs.
That's what he thinks of the people in his own state.
Yeah.
You know what, folks?
And by the way, the hypocrisy is that he had legislated to protect his daughter and her company for years. Her daughter is, I believe she's CEO still of Mylan, which is a pharmaceutical company. And then he turns around and says, all these guys are just drug addicts.
Don't they make diabetes drugs?
Uh,
Is it
I
not?
believe so. I believe so.
Wasn't there a big thing with them about overcharging?
Yeah. Yeah, there was. Um, this is Don Blankenship, who was the former CEO of Massey Energy and involved in a massive lawsuit and actually served prison time for a 2010 mining accident that killed several people. And when talking about coal pollution and that kind of thing, Don Blankenship, what he said was just shut up and use more coal and turn on more lights.
By the way, they apparently are now part of a big pharma, a big biotech company called Viatris, Mylan.
Right.
So they were bought,
Oh, they were bought. I
apparently.
wasn't aware of that.
Or they merged.
Okay. So Don Blankenship was asking basically that something be done with his sentencing. So Supreme Court leaves Don Blankenship conviction in place. This was October 3rd, 2022. It won't review the conviction of former coal CEO Don Blankenship, who was found guilty of conspiring to violate safety standards at a West Virginia Upper Big Branch mine before the 2010 explosion that killed 29 men. So this is what he's worried about, his own conviction. And he's running against Zach Shrewsbury for the Democratic uh, nomination for Joe Manchin's Senate seat. By the way, not to go too much into it because we did a short take on it. Don Blankenship ran for president under the Constitution Party, which is a far right wing, extreme right wing, constitutional originalist party, very much alongside the lines of the Heritage Foundation. So, and this is when I put in the AP news article from when Blankenship went to prison in 2015.
So I just want to let you know that Joe Manchin's daughter has stepped down.
Oh, she has stepped down. Okay.
Because she was involved in that whole EpiPen price gouging thing.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
so she stepped down, but she is now his chief advisor for 2024.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. I remember back in the day when we first started talking about the whole thing that yeah. So and
Like
one
father,
more
like
thing
son. That's all I'm gonna say.
when it comes to all of that, not only with Mylan and all of that, uh, you guys probably remember us talking about Ronnie Jackson, the drug dealer in chief. Um,
For Trump's
these
White House.
guys were this the White House pharmacy was creating go bags for people with Ambien and other drugs in it so they could travel and get stoned. And then they're investigating it now. that they said that Ronnie Jackson was violating several laws with this thing.
No shit. There were also several times when he himself was so under the influence on flights that they weren't sure he could discharge his duties as the White House doctor.
So
Oh, please
speaking of people who must be high, I had to throw this in here at the end. Jesse Waters, okay, he was talking out of his ass all this week about how Democrats are afraid to concede already because Trump has already won. Okay. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Psychic's prediction of sense of loss for Trump unnerves Fox News host. First off, Jesse Waters, they're
only on Fox would you find somebody reading tarot cards
I
about
mean, for
the
God's
2024
sake,
election. I mean,
this is out of network. They're literally doing network, but in real time, in real life. It's amazing.
I mean,
Jesse Waters.
the GOP looks like a fucking clown show. The news channel where most of their freaking constituents get their news is a joke. I don't understand how fucking anyone can take these people with any grain of seriousness as people who should be running a nation. Okay.
Honestly, I think they're trying to elevate this guy to be the next Tucker.
Well, he's
But
perfect for it because he's a fucking moron. Okay.
yeah, and he's saying, there's no way Trump's going to win. These guys are clueless. Blah 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 blah. The whole narrative. But the final thing
He's
is,
got not one clue about where he is.
this is Jennifer Rubin. Now, Jennifer Rubin has time and time again said, listen, this Republican Party has to go. She documents
Former Republican, by the way.
she documents in this story where she started, why she switched from Republican to Democrat. Because the Democrats are actually governing as opposed to Donald Trump and his criminal cronies running around doing whatever they want to do. So
Jennifer Rubin's a real go-to. She really is. She's good. She's very good.
and it seems as though she is one of those fiscal conservatives, but in terms of all of the other women's rights and all of that, that she is firmly on our side, which is why why she switched.
I also believe
So,
she's in favor of Social Security and Medicare. I don't believe
yeah,
fiscal
yeah.
conservative to that degree.
No, no, no. But that's the only, I mean, none of the policies that they're talking about, that the Trump administration is talking about, she's for. None of it. Not one bit. Now, right now you see the clown show that is the House of Representatives. If by some disaster we lost the Senate, the Senate would become the House, what the House is now. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Rand Paul with his garbage, and Ted Cruz and Marsha Blackburn and their stupidity. They don't have the floor right now, so that's why you're not seeing it.
They're still
We
doing stupid shit.
we cannot allow them to
Look,
have that. And we got to get these back.
Scott, Ted Cruz,
Josh Hawley.
they're all vulnerable. All of them.
Yep.
Okay? Rick Scott didn't win his election by very much. Okay? He can be beaten, and he's got a good candidate running against him. We'll be talking about them in upcoming shows.
Heidi Heitkamp's seat
In South Dakota, we have a chance
in
to
South
take
Dakota.
back for the first time since 2019. We need to focus on this stuff, and we need to get this done.
And at the same time, stop listening to the polls saying that, you know, we have a tough road to hoe. Sherrod Brown is going to be gone, and this was John Tester is going to be gone. I don't. It's only going to happen if the voters in those states
Stay home.
stay home.
By the way, all of this chatter is designed to get you to not bother to vote, just so you understand. In New Hampshire, where Joe Biden wasn't even on the ballot, he won in a landslide on write-in, okay?
Right.
On write-in. But before that, there were fake robocalls being made from Joe Biden campaign headquarters telling people to stay home and not vote. We have to be aware of all of this. Okay? We have to be aware of all of this.
And understand too, the advantage that we have here is that it's a presidential race, and that's when more people vote as opposed to the midterms. We lost a very winnable race in Ohio. JD Vance, you know,
We had a 9-seat lead in the House. We lost the House at the midterms. That's, to me, unacceptable. That smells low voter turnout. There's no way that's a reality. You know, we had a 9-seat lead. That did not have to happen. I'll keep saying it. That did not have to happen. If we had won the House and had the Senate where it is right now, we'd have had a much more productive 2 years. But frankly, Joe Biden's done a hell of a job in spite of all of this.
and by the way, Lauren Boebert, and I'll say it again, she gave us a gift by moving from District 3 to District 4. She basically gave that seat to Adam Frisch. And on top of that, she gave publicity to Colorado District 4 that the Republicans didn't want. 6 of those people in a debate had to admit that they had criminal records. So
Running in District 4 for the Republicans raised their hand when they were asked if they had a record. You fucking kidding me? Are you for real? I mean, by the way, her performance in the first debate was dismal, and her straw poll at the end, she probably should have stayed where she was. Just saying.
right. So
That's where we are, gang, and we will be back next week with more election stuff.
right. And listen, you guys are like, well, you didn't do my state. Trust me, we'll get to everybody that is actually running. We are not going to talk about people who are not going to run for another few years. We're not doing that. We're not running through everybody. We are focusing on those that are running.
We will, however, I will put in this something that Dave did not show, but which I have up on my browser, which is a list of candidates who are in the Senate through 2029. On the left side of the page will be Democrats. On the right-hand side of the page will be Republicans. And on the Republican side, I can tell you already, we're stuck with some people. Okay, so we need to win as many seats as we can, because we're stuck with a lot of MAGA senators until January 1st, 2029. All right?
Right.
And you will see when you see it, JD Vance is one of those guys. And you'll see it when you get the list. There's a few others.
And not for nothing, now is your chance to get rid of some more.
Right.
You have Marsha Blackburn. Listen, again, people are saying it's an outside chance, but it's a chance.
But it's a chance.
Take that chance.
And by the way, it's one of the Tennessee 3 running against Marsha Blackburn.
Right.
She can
The
win.
the lady.
Yes. I can't remember her name. I
I
was
can't
just,
remember her name either, right this second, but we will talk about her.
we will be talking about her.
And people
I can tell you I donated to her. So yes,
do not discount any true Democratic candidate.
we can't
West
think that way
Virginia,
anymore. We can't think
you
that way.
can't. Listen, people already said, well, we lost West Virginia. There's
No,
a
we
guy
didn't.
running.
No, we didn't.
Look at him.
We did not lose West Virginia. We lost Joe Manchin.
We lost Joe
We
Manchin.
should look at that as a bonus and put something in there that's really good.
And stop complaining. Oh, it's just the same people over and over again. It, it is if you vote for them. Don Blankenship, if you allow that man in, you have no one to blame but yourself, West Virginia voters. And by the way, we will suffer for it. The rest of the country will suffer for it
That's
because that man is a political cancer. Do not allow that man to get the which is why I didn't even mention Jim Justice. To me, the bigger danger right now
Blankenship.
is Blankenship in that Democratic primary. We'll talk about Jim Justice after the primary. But if Don Blankenship, the only way we're going to quote unquote lose West Virginia is if
As if
Don
it's
Blankenship is
Blankenship on,
allowed,
if Blankenship is on the ballot against Justice, then we're
then
done.
that's it. Then
Because
that's it.
for all intents and purposes, Blankenship's a fucking far right Republican, and they just boxed the fucking Senate seat in.
He's actually farther to the right than Jim Justice, which is unbelievable in itself. But they are trying to just they're trying to I don't want to say rig, but they're
Steal
trying to
seats.
make sure
They're
they're
trying to
trying to
steal
make
seats.
sure that there's a right wing shitbag in that state.
Right.
That's what it is,
Yep.
you know. So
All right, gang. We'll see you all later.